I grew up watching my great grandmother brag that she never went to the doctor. And in Jamaica, where I'm from, that was actually not a complaint. That was seen as a badge of honor. I mean, if you didn't need to see the doctor, it meant that you were healthy. And so many people bragged about that. My great grandmother lived until the age of 98. She was cognitively intact. She was really vibrant, but she died when she fell, fractured her hip, and had complications from that. So it seemed to me back then that she knew what she was talking about. The truth is, some of these beliefs followed me into adulthood, and I bet you there's some beliefs that followed you too. In this video, I'm going to expose to you 7 practices. All of them are common, they're well intentioned, but every single one of them could be wasting your time, your money, and even worse, your health, particularly for women over 50. And stay with me to the end because practice number 5 is really one of the biggest wastes of willpower and time for women over 50. And the research actually shows that it works against the very result that you're trying so hard to achieve. So, practice 1 is taking vitamins and supplements instead of eating well. Let's start with the fact that this may be costing you money, but it's also possibly costing you your health. I've met so many people over the years who ate poorly, often ultra processed foods with very little fruits or vegetables, but they took a fistful of supplements every morning because they felt like this was going to give them a clean bill of health. The logic for them was that the vitamins and supplements were covering what the food didn't. Here's what I want you to understand. Vitamins alone cannot replicate the thousands of polynutrients and antioxidants and fiber and bioactive compounds that are found in whole foods. Instead, it gives you isolated nutrients that are stripped from the cofactors. They're void from the synergistic compounds that make food medicine. Taking a multivitamin while eating poorly is really like putting premium fuel in a car that has clogged engine and calling it maintenance. And here's where it gets even more serious. More is not better. The SELECT trial. This was a large randomized control study that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association some years ago, found that men who were taking high doses of vitamin E supplements had a significantly increased risk of prostate cancer. This was not a decreased risk, an increased risk because of the supplementation. And while that study focused on men, I'm aware that the majority of my audience are women over 50. The principle still applies broadly. Supplementing aggressively without knowing your actual levels and without addressing dietary quality is not a safety net. It actually can be harmful. You may have seen recently in news reports of people taking high doses of turmeric and ending up with elevated liver enzymes and liver injury. This illustrates that natural does not always mean safe, particularly when you're taking things in unlimited quantities, right? So, what actually works? Following up with your doctor or other qualified healthcare professional and getting your levels tested. Levels like vitamin D and B12, magnesium, iron. Some of these deficiencies are seen in women over 50 and may be worth addressing specifically, not just taking supplements broadly. Once you know the gaps, you can target the gaps with the help of your health professional so that the supplements you're taking is built on the awareness of a certain gap. You start with healthy nutrition first, follow up with your healthcare professional for testing. And you do this before you decide to get a lot of supplements, right? Follow their recommendations specifically. Practice number 2 is doing loads of cardio and skipping strength training. This is one that's personal for me. I think most of us grew up in a time when cardio was the thing to do. We always thought cardio was the answer, these long sessions on the elliptical, on the stationary bike, on the treadmill. You're going for an hour plus, and we really felt like we were doing something. I was sweating, I was moving, I was showing up, but you know what? The results weren't always there. The results often were disappointing, particularly once I hit 50. What I did not fully appreciate before that was that the hormonal shift of menopause affect our body differently. And exercise, depending on the type, can affect things like your stores of fat, muscles that you lose as you get older, really how your body responds to exercise. So these long cardio, they can actually create metabolic shift. They can stimulate craving and actually lead to more weight gain. They can increase your cortisol and cause you to have difficulty maintaining weight. I have definitely experienced this firsthand. And the research is clear on what actually works after menopause. A 2022 meta analysis in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that resistance training 2 or more times a week actually reduced all cause mortality. Strength training is going to preserve your muscle mass, which is the primary driver of your resting metabolism. It also improves things like your bone density, reduces insulin resistance, and has a significant benefit on mood and cognitive function. In addition, high intensity interval training, we call that HIIT, even in short sessions, like 15 minutes, they can trigger hormonal and metabolic shift that the long, slow cardio simply doesn't. So I now do strength training 2 to 3 times a week. And the difference in how I look and feel is not subtle. It's really one of the single most important changes I've made in my exercise routine. Of course, you know that you should talk to your doctor before starting or changing your exercise program. By the way, if you're learning something from this, I'm asking you a favor to go ahead and like this video and share it with another woman over 50 who you think might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more on healthy aging over 50. Practice number 3 is spending money on your body while your brain quietly declines. This happens more often than people realize. We spend billions on gym membership, protein powder, skincare, and all these wellness products. And almost none of that spending is directed at the one organ that makes every single one of those investments worthwhile. Your brain controls your memory, your mood, your movement, your decisions, your relationships, and your ability to enjoy the healthy body that you're working so hard to maintain. And most women over 50 are actually doing almost nothing specific to protect the brain. This is not just a missed opportunity. It is the most expensive oversight in your entire health routine. Here is why it matters, and it matters urgently, by the way. The Lancet Commission on Dementia Prevention, one of the most comprehensive analysis on dementia research that was ever published, it found that 45% of all dementia cases are attributed to modifiable lifestyle risk factors. Nearly half. That means nearly half of all cases could potentially be prevented or delayed through the choices we make every day. Starting now, not when you're 70, 80, 90, but start now, right? Because at this age, the window is wide open, but it doesn't stay open forever. The risk is real. What we know is an estimated 6.9 million Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's disease. And that number is projected to double by 2060. And women represent almost 2/3 of those cases. So this is not a condition that just happens to people. It is a condition that our lifestyle choices now can feed or fight. And this is good news, right? It means that we can actually help to prevent this. And the expensive protocols that we use in our body without thinking about our mind is a problem. So here are 5 science-backed things that we can do. Number 1, move your body daily. Number 2, prioritize sleep. 3, keep learning new things. 4, manage your stress actively. And 5, eat for your brain specifically. Now, I know that knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently are 2 very different things. And if you are watching this and thinking, I understand that this matters, but I don't know where to actually start. That is exactly why I created the 14-day brain reset. It's a 14-day evidence-based program that was designed specifically for women over 50 who want to take their brain health seriously. And this is done without overwhelm, without confusion. Each day will build upon the last, covering nutrition, sleep, movement, stress, cognitive resilience in a way that is simple and doable and grounded in the science that we just talked about. The link for the 14-day reset will be below. So check it out. If your brain matters to you, and after everything I just shared, I hope it does, I'd love to see you on the inside. Now let's talk about practice number 4 that is a waste of time and money. And that is buying expensive collagen and protein powders instead of addressing what's destroying your collagen and muscle mass to begin with. The market for these supplements is worth billions of dollars. And the marketing is very compelling, especially for women over 50, because, we see our skin change and we see our muscle mass decline. Here is what the research actually shows, though. The current evidence for using oral collagen supplements as a primary way to improve skin elasticity is modest and sometimes inconsistent. More importantly, your body breaks down the collagen into amino acids during digestion, the same amino acids you get from eating quality protein sources. What determines whether your body can build and maintain collagen and muscle is not primarily whether you're taking powder. It is, however, whether you're giving your body the raw material and the right conditions to do so. The lifestyle factors that destroy collagen and accelerate muscle loss, they include things like chronic UV exposure, smoking, sugar, and ultra-processed food ingestion. These trigger glycation and a breakdown of your collagen fiber. Things like chronic stress because of the elevated cortisol, poor sleep, and inadequate dietary protein from whole food sources. No supplement is going to correct for these. Instead, addressing them directly does much more for your skin, your joints, and your muscle mass than any powder supplement you end up buying. If you want to invest in collagen and muscle support after 50, really the best thing is to prioritize daily sun protection, consistent strength training, adequate protein intake from whole foods, quality sleep, and stress management. These are the interventions with the strongest evidence. The marketing on these powders is actually designed to make you think that you can take the shortcut, but the biology disagrees. Practice 5. This is using restrictive diet to manage your weight. For many women, as the weight creeps on, they begin to severely restrict what they eat. The starvation diet approach may have worked when you were younger. And if you see improvement now, it is often temporary. The weight comes off, but then it comes back on, and often with a little extra. Because approaching dieting this way can wreck your metabolism. When you chronically undereat, your body does not simply burn stored fat efficiently. It can also end up breaking down muscle tissue for fuel. And after 50, when muscle mass is already declining naturally at a rate of about 1 to 2% per year, aggressive caloric restriction can accelerate that loss even more dramatically. And muscle is a metabolically active tissue. It is what drives your resting metabolism. Less muscle means a slower metabolism, which means the same calories that maintained your weight before, they now cause weight gain. It is a cycle that gets harder to break the longer it continues. The best approach is eating a balanced, whole food nutrition rich in fruits, vegetables, adequate protein, and healthy fats. Not a restrictive diet. That's not going to help, right? Instead, look at a way that is sustainable indefinitely. People who eat this way, a healthy way, often see that their weight is stabilized and they feel better. Nourishing your body with healthy food is not an indulgence. Practice six is only seeing your doctor when something feels wrong. Remember, I talked about my great grandmother earlier? I am now much more proactive with my health. As a physician, I understand the value of catching things early. But as I've shared before, many of us have grown up in a world where visiting the doctor was not encouraged. I shared before the story of my great grandmother. And as I said, she did not go to the doctor, and it was a badge of honor. In certain communities, you also have mistrust for the healthcare system. And so people often feel that it's reasonable not to go in unless they feel there's something going on. But the truth is, this is how the diseases that kill us thrive. Things like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, early cognitive decline, they're all mostly silent in the treatable stages. By the time you begin to feel them, the window for effective treatment and intervention has passed. And I want to acknowledge that for those who have mistrust in the healthcare system, the feeling is not irrational. It's rooted in real and documented history of mistreatment and harm. But although that history is valid, we also want to not ignore symptoms or avoid screening, because that does not make the condition less present. It only reduces the options available when the condition eventually is found. So here are a couple of things you can do. Find a healthcare professional that you trust. Advocate for yourself. You can even bring someone along to your doctor's visit if you feel you need that for support. And ask questions until you feel that you've fully understood the information. Whatever you do, you need to get your preventative care. Get your annual labs, your blood pressure checked, get your mammogram, your colonoscopy, your skin checks, your eye check, your dental evaluation. Get all the things that you need checked to proactively take care of yourself. You deserve to catch things early. You deserve the best possible outcome. And that happens when you come in and get things caught early, get things identified early. All right. And the final one, practice number 7, is managing symptoms instead of addressing root causes. Let me paint a picture that might feel familiar. You're tired, so you drink coffee. Your joints ache, so you take ibuprofen daily. You cannot sleep, so you take melatonin. That one is personal. Your mood is low, and so you push through. Your weight keeps creeping up despite everything you're doing, and you just think you're just going to manage. These are probably some of the most expensive health mistakes women over 50 can make. And it's also invisible because it looks like you're actually taking care of yourself, like you're doing something. Because after all, you are managing the symptoms. You think you're addressing the problem, except you're not really addressing the root cause. You're silencing the messenger, but the underlying issue continues unchecked. Symptoms are not diseases. They are our bodies communicating with us, telling us that something underlying is going on and needs to change. Chronic fatigue, joint inflammation, poor sleep, poor mood, weight resistance, cognitive fog. These are not random. They're almost always downstream of something that we need to address. This could be things like chronic inflammation, hormonal shifts, nutritional deficiencies, gut microbiome disruption, chronic stress, or sedentary behavior. Spending money on solutions that mask the signals without investigating the actual source is not healthcare. It is expensive noise management. The research supports this. A 2023 report from the CDC found that 60% of American adults have at least one chronic disease, 40% have two or more. The vast majority of these chronic diseases, by the way, are lifestyle driven. Most people manage the symptom through medication rather than looking at the root cause and finding a solution through lifestyle intervention. I'm not anti-medication. As a physician, I prescribe when it's indicated and necessary. But I also know that using medication to manage symptoms that are caused by lifestyle factors without addressing the lifestyle factor is like mopping up the floor of the sink that's overflowing without turning off the faucet. Here's what addressing the root cause looks like. 1, investigating before you medicate. Number 2, treat inflammation at its source. 3, take your gut health seriously. 4, understand lifestyle factors like nutrition, movement, stress management, sleep health, social relationship. Understand that all of these matter to your health. And 5, build a proactive relationship with your physician. Listen, after 50, what worked before may not work now. And what looks like effort is not always the same as what produces results. The multivitamin that feels like insurance, the excess cardio that feels like fitness, the unhealthy amount of caloric restriction and yo-yo dieting that feels like discipline. The doctor visit you keep postponing because nothing feels urgent. Ignoring your brain health and putting a band-aid on symptoms. All of these practices are common. All of them may be well-intentioned. All of them may be wasting your time, your money, and your health. But you can change that now. I've given you the information. As usual, thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with another woman over 50 who may benefit from this information. And check out the next video where I share 13 habits that have genuinely changed my health after 50. Once again, thank you for watching.